And we know where it is. It is one of the few countries that have a recorded history going back 2,500 years.
How many countries are in the world?
About 200, I would think.
What does independence mean? Why do people like to be independent?
To be independent, the country has to have its own boundaries. We have an island bounded by the sea. No other country can dictate what should happen and what in that country. The citizens of that country are responsible and have the right to decide how the country is governed.
How and why did Sri Lanka lose its independence? It is a long, complex story, but we will make it very brief. Right through history, we had kings, and sometimes more than one. Ruling the country depended on local chiefs to look after small communities. Around the year 1500, European nations like Portugal, the Netherlands, France, and Britain had become strong naval powers, contesting for the ownership of commodities that the eastern nations had. Sri Lanka was known for its gems and pearls. The Portuguese arrived in Sri Lanka in 1505 with the superiority of weapons and soldiers. They got control of the western province and the king. Then the Dutch arrived in 1650 and took over the Portuguese territories that had extended up to Jaffna.
In 1795, as a result of shifting power struggles in Europe and negotiations between the Dutch and the British, Dutch territories in Sri Lanka became British possessions. In 1815, the last king of Kandy was deposed. The whole island became a colony of Britain, but were no longer an independent country. The new colony provided goods and services for the benefit of the master nation. Agricultural land was taken away from the villagers. Plantations of coffee, tea, and rubber came into being. The displaced villagers became unhappy wage earners. Almost immediately after 1815, anti-British attitude arose. For the next 133 years, there were many rebellions and hostilities against the foreign rule.
Sri Lanka was on its way for vast changes by the turn of the century. The missionary schools in the north and the south provided Protestant education to the children of the new urban capitalists. Led by American Colonel Alcott, Buddhist schools were set up in Colombo, Galle, and Kandy. These schools injected modern secular Western ideas to the education system. Some of the English-educated graduates went to England for further education. Others joined the government service. Those educated abroad introduced Western political ideologies like communism, socialism, and democratic principles of government. Sri Lankans experimented with the new ideas, and the freedom fighters formed youth groups from which came the leaders of the day. With remarkable abilities to unite the people, to demand self-rule, some even suffered imprisonment. The British abolished the customary administrative system and introduced laws from which the present system gradually developed. Transfer of power to the people had begun with the right to vote and elections along party lines.
It is said that every crisis is also an opportunity. When Britain was at war with Germany in 1935 to 45 and later Japan, Sri Lanka became an indispensable base. In spite of dissatisfaction under the imperialists, the leaders of the day
coming from every ethnic group, united the people in support of the British war effort. At the end of the war, Britain was ready to show its gratitude. 1947 elections brought together the United National Party of DS Senanayaka and Kinahala Mahasawa of SWRD Bandaranayaka. At this stage, Dominion status was granted under the leadership of DS Senanayaka as the Prime Minister. So on February 4th, 1948, Sri Lanka became an independent nation after being a British colony for 133 years. The Union Jack was replaced by the Lion flag.
The lion flag represents Sri Lanka and its heritage. It is a unifying device, and that it evolved over a period of 2,000 years, the lion being the focus. The lion stands for braveness and Sinhalese ethnicity. Sword stands for independence and justice. Four-bowl leaves represent a system of ethics to follow in our thoughts and actions.
Metta, loving kindness. Karuna, compassion, friendliness. Upeka, equanimity, composure. Mudita, tenderness. These are virtues that can apply to everyday activities. Maroon background indicates the Sinhalese race. Orange stripe indicates the Tamil race. Green stripe indicates the Muslim race. And the yellow stripe along the margin stands for other minorities in our ethnic stew.
Who are the other minorities? They are brothers, a clever adaptation of the word bird or 45 sounds. They are the descendants of the Portuguese, Dutch, and British. The Sri Lankan Malays who come from the Southeast Asia, those descended from the pre-Virginian community. As we hoist our flag, we appreciate the freedom we enjoy today individually and as a group supporting each other. We are accepted by other nations as equals because our ancestors worked diligently to gain that status.
Post-colonial life of Sri Lanka was based on a constitution made in England. The constitution retained the Sri Lankan link to the British Crown through a titular Governor-General. This system lacked the authority and character of a homegrown constitution. In 1972, by the people's choice, Sri Lanka became a republic. Sri Lanka's social progress in building the human resources lay in building the human resources. A basic needs approach to development is embedded in its history. The country moved ahead with innovative solutions like free education, free healthcare, and so on. Public service is not for private profit was the approach. Nationalization became a theme, while democratic principles were guarded. The 1977 elections mandated another change. An executive president chosen by the people, not by parliament, was established. Then came the new democratic socialist Republic of Sri Lanka.
May our nation and unity last until time.
Thank you very much, and Uncle Bean has made a flag for you to keep on your desk so that you can remember the virtues of our flag and some patriotism. You know, when I grew up, the web was a spider's home, and a hard drive was a very difficult drive, and a keyboard meant a piano. But now we have computers, and all these words have a different meaning to us, right? But some things never change, and those are patriotism, civic-minded citizenship, and being brave. Those kinds of things won't change. So, Sri Lankans of Hawaii encourage you to become good citizens, to make a difference in the community you live, as you are our future. Thank you.